The story opens in the past, where a young girl named Nico thanks her friend Mori for always watching over her. She promises to train relentlessly so she can grow into a powerful witch one day, hoping they will meet again in the future. Back in the present, Mori is confronted by a group of bullies. He doesn't recognize them at first, so their leader, Momona, reminds him of how he once interfered when they were harassing another student. They begin attacking him, but Mori effortlessly avoids their strikes. Suddenly, however, he stops resisting and allows himself to be beaten. Later at home, Mori's father questions why he didn't fight back despite clearly having the strength to win. Mori explains that he refuses to hurt others because, as a child, he once seriously injured Momona. His father then asks if he still remembers Nico, triggering memories of their childhood together, times when Mori often ended up hurt while protecting her. His father reveals shocking news. Nico has completed her training and has chosen Mori to be her familiar. The revelation is so unexpected that Mori nearly spits out his food. His father explains that familiars are usually animals, but long ago, some absorbed so much magic that they evolved into human forms. Creatures like ox and tiger familiars even married humans, and their descendants became known as ogres. Since their family belongs to this ogre lineage, Mori now understands his heritage, though he feels it has little relevance in the modern world. Still, his father insists they must honor the ancient pact to protect witches, meaning Mori will serve as Nico's bodyguard. To make matters worse, his father announces he's leaving on an important business trip, and that Nico will be staying with Mori. The news makes him choke on his food once again, prompting his father to wonder if he's doing it on purpose. Soon after, Nico is shown flying on her broom, hoping Mori is doing well. Mori recalls their first meeting, when she struggled to pronounce his name. Suddenly, Nico crashes through his window and lands right in front of him, quickly apologizing for losing control. Mori jokes that he didn't expect her to cause trouble the moment she arrived. As she tries to help clean up, Mori tells her to relax and enjoy the cookies he baked. Nico notices how much he's grown and comments on how handsome he's become, even teasing him about having improper thoughts. Mori calmly assures her that he just wants them to get along. She apologizes for her mother forcing him into the role of her protector, but he explains that once a contract exists, it must be honored. Nico offers to repair the broken window using magic and asks Mori to bring something important to him as a catalyst. They choose his favorite cup, and although the spell works, the cup ends up shattered. Nico explains that repairing something requires sacrificing something equally precious, which upsets Mori since she never warned him. He scolds her, saying the cup meant a lot to him. Despite that, he admits her magic is impressive, and she realizes she's still causing him trouble, just like before. Wanting to show off another spell, Nico demonstrates one that flattens objects, using it on herself. She becomes paper thin, but a sudden gust of wind blows her away. Mori desperately tries to catch her, but she slips into a crack. Nico explains that the spell will wear off soon, but if she doesn't escape in time, she'll remain flat forever. At that moment, Momona shows up, questioning what Mori is doing outside his house. Mori urgently asks him to bring a vacuum cleaner, but Momona misunderstands and thinks Mori wants to fight. Mori releases his power, terrifying Momona and shattering the wall behind him as he pulls Nico out just in time. Momona is stunned to see Nico again after so many years, but he quickly becomes furious about the destroyed wall. He demands that Nico fix it, and she does, using Momona's hair as the magical medium. She apologizes, but Mori tells her it's fine. Later, Nico goes shopping for clothes and ends up buying far more than planned. To help Mori carry everything, she casts a super light spell on the bags. While Mori admits her magic is convenient, he warns her not to use it openly. Nico explains that her magic is unstable since she's still a beginner, and helping others is the best way for her to stabilize it. Mori promises to support her in achieving her dream, causing Nico to drift into romantic daydreams, until he suddenly points out a building on fire. Spotting a woman trapped inside, Nico prepares to rescue her using her broom, and Mori insists on joining her, telling her to focus on flying while he handles the rescue. They manage to save the woman, but the broom struggles under the weight of 3 people. Nico casts her lightning spell on Mori, making him lighter, but also changing his personality. When the woman asks who they are, Mori casually introduces Nico as a witch and himself as an ogre, shocking her. As the broom begins to fail, Nico casts the spell on herself as well to ensure a safe landing, making both of them overly cheerful. After safely reaching the ground, the woman thanks them and leaves. Suddenly, Mori and Nico realize they left their shopping bags behind and rush back for them. However, the bags feel impossibly heavy. Nico checks her spellbook and discovers the downside of her magic. The weight returns even stronger afterward. As the effect kicks in, both of them collapse under the sudden heaviness. That night, Nico thanks Mori for everything and admires how well he controls his strength. Mori, however, remembers his father's warning. Within a year, a great disaster will strike Nico, and his true duty as her familiar is to protect her no matter what. The following day, Nico asks Mori how he's feeling after their first night living under the same roof. He shrugs it off, saying he doesn't feel much different, and tells her to hurry up and get dressed. Mori explains that even though they've known each other since childhood, they're still a boy and a girl. Instead of being embarrassed, Nico is secretly thrilled that he now sees her that way, and she immediately drifts off into another daydream. They head to school together, where Nico happily realizes they've been placed in the same class. Meanwhile, Mori silently resolves to keep an eye on her and make sure she stays safe. After the entrance ceremony, Nico notices how much everyone has grown, and she's surprised to see that some students are already in relationships. Mori pulls her aside to talk, and Nico assumes he's about to confess his feelings. Instead, he warns her to keep her identity as a witch hidden and to avoid using magic at school. Back in the classroom, their teacher Yuri introduces herself. She almost admits that her true hobby is reading manga, but worries the students might laugh at her, so she quickly changes it to dancing. She then asks everyone to introduce themselves. Remembering Mori's warning, Nico stays quiet while introductions begin. Mori carefully observes the class, even jotting down notes so he can protect her better. However, he accidentally snaps his eraser in half. Thinking this might be her chance to prove magic isn't a problem, Nico secretly casts a spell meant to make things larger. Unfortunately, she hits part of Mori's hair instead, causing it to grow wildly. No one notices, except Yuri, who dismisses it as her imagination after reading too much manga. Panicking, Nico tries to undo the spell, but this time, she hits Mori's head, making it enormous. He still doesn't realize what's happening, but Yuri is left completely stunned. Desperate, Nico attempts the spell again and accidentally enlarges his arm. This finally catches Mori's attention. He awkwardly tries to hide his oversized arm while introducing himself, but his strange appearance only makes the class stare. When he sits down, he rests the massive arm on Nico's desk. Just as she starts casting another spell to fix it, Yuri suddenly calls on Nico to introduce herself. Startled, Nico jumps to her feet and accidentally casts the spell on herself instead. In an instant, she grows to a gigantic size, shocking everyone in the room. Left with no choice, she admits that she's a witch, much to Mori's frustration for exposing their secret. Yuri then explains that Nico's mother had already informed the school and that Nico would continue her witch training while attending classes like everyone else. Nico stands silently as her classmates stare at her, while Mori worries that no one will want to befriend her now that the truth is out. After school, Mori asks Nico to walk home with him, but before they can leave, their classmate Kara and her friend Kakumi invite Nico out to eat. At the restaurant, a group of boys try to flirt with them, only for Kara to shut them down by calling them losers, a moment that leaves Nico deeply impressed. Nico compliments Kara, but the conversation quickly shifts as the girls start asking her more about herself. Nico confidently says she can use many different spells, though Kara finds her boldness a bit reckless. Nico admits she never had friends her own age, which made her dream of spending time with other girls. Curious, she asks whether Kara and Kakumi have known each other since middle school. Kakumi explains that she used to be alone back then, until Kara reached out to her, and the two became close friends. Kara then brings up Mori, prompting Nico to explain that they've known each other since childhood. Kara finds it strange that they always walk home together, And she's even more shocked when Nico casually mentions that they live in the same house. Seeing this as inappropriate, Kara jumps to conclusions, but Nico quickly clarifies that they aren't in a romantic relationship. Excited, Kara asks Nico to introduce her to Mori since she's looking for a boyfriend. Meanwhile, the boys who were rejected earlier plot to get back at the girls. Before they can act, Mori suddenly appears and scares them off with ease. To avoid attention to him, Nico downplays his qualities and says he's nothing special. The next day at school, Nico is surrounded by classmates who gush about how incredible she is. Seeing this, Mori feels relieved, as he had been worried she wouldn't fit in or make friends. Kara asks Nico to show off some magic, but Mori immediately objects, knowing that magic isn't meant to be used casually. Nico confidently insists she can handle it and begins casting spells. At that moment, Yuri walks into the classroom and freezes in shock. The entire room has been turned upside down. Nico quickly fixes everything, restoring the classroom to normal. Yuri then announces that their first lesson will be recreational time and suggests playing Fruits Basket. The students complain that it's a childish game and propose using Nico's magic instead. They head outside, where Nico explains how flying works before activating her spell. Soon, the whole class begins floating through the air, laughing and enjoying the experience. Students from other classes watch in envy as they're stuck playing dull games, while Nico's class has all the fun. Mori checks on Nico, concerned that she's draining too much magical energy, but she casually says she can recharge by eating, and that what matters most is everyone having fun. Mori is struck by her outlook on life. Unlike her, he's never known joy, having been born an ogre. Nico praises his incredible strength and suggests he should be proud of it, but he recalls how people once abandoned him after learning what he was, calling him a monster. Suddenly, a truck accidentally drives into the magic circle. The driver panics as the vehicle begins to float, then slips out of the spell's range and starts falling toward the ground. In an instant, Mori catches it, saving everyone. The students are stunned, wondering how he managed such a feat. Nico tries to cover for him, but Mori stops her and openly reveals that he's an ogre. Expecting fear and rejection, he braces himself, but instead, the class reacts with amazement at his strength. Confused, he asks why no one is scared. They explain that after flying through the air and knowing Nico is a witch, learning that her childhood friend is an ogre isn't shocking at all.